Hi, I'm Bonnie Ashton, the General Manager of Future Generation, and today we have with us Cheryl Batchelor, Yiliyapinya's founder and CEO. Yiliyapinya is one of Future Generation Australia's social impact partners, supporting vulnerable young children to thrive. Cheryl is an Aboriginal educator, researcher and leader, and she has over 30 years experience in education, neuroplasticity, trauma-informed practice and wellbeing. And we're very grateful that Cheryl could be here with us today. So as I mentioned earlier, Yiliyapinya is one of Future Generation Australia's partners, and all of the partners provide programs which have a very different but complementary approach to supporting vulnerable young Australians. Future Generation Australia supports organisations across the country who provide a varied and different approaches to supporting young people. Yiliyapinya is one of those, and you have a truly unique program and offer services to some of the most vulnerable Australians. Can you tell us what Yiliyapinya does?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you for this opportunity to be able to have a yarn with you today and share what we do. I set up Yiliyapinya back in 2019, and Yiliyapinya means brain, and that's really what we're on about. As an ex-principal, I got very frustrated suspending and excluding our kids, especially our most vulnerable kids, even though teachers and teacher aides and everybody was doing really deadly things to help our kids. There was something missing. So I went on a journey to learn about neuroscience, but I didn't do a degree. I actually got mentored and supported by neuroscientists, and it was through that I thought, wow, this is about the brain. So I started to understand the brain and the body better. So what we do is we help improve brain health and also heal the brain from adversity, and also get the body to regulate better as a response to the trauma, because trauma is sort of like held in our brain and our body in different ways for different people. So it's about healing the brain and improving it. And we do that across the lifespan. So we have one project called the Growing Deadly Brains Project, and that's in Queensland, specifically targeted for 0 to 8 practitioners, families and elders, so that we can provide and help them create resources to get out to communities to understand brain development in the early years. And we also have another project called the Yili program. This is my sort of like passionate program, and this is where Future Generation is really helping us with the 70 to 17-year-olds that and most of them are under 14, that are very vulnerable. They're either been suspended from school, or they've chosen to exclude themselves from school. They're in the child safety system, and all of them are in residential care, and most of them are not with kin. So they're not with their Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander families, and they're in the youth justice system. So they're extremely vulnerable children, and really got really very deep trauma. So what we need to do is heal the brain through beautiful spiritual ways of knowing, being and doing in a culturally appropriate way, and then heal their brain. And what I mean by healing their brain, it means improving their prefrontal cortex. Basically, it's their cognition, like their working memory, their processing speed, their ability to listen and self-regulate themselves, because all those areas of their brain shut down when you're in trauma. So once we improve that, we can actually get these kids back to school. We run a program called Made by Mob, is where we, one of the things that I've learnt from kids, when you really listen to kids, they'll tell you what they need. And so it's very important that we do that. And one of the kids have told me is that they love actually building things. So the Made by Mob program came about by kids in detention telling us that they like doing picnic tables. So we have a carpenter that comes in and helps the kids build picnic tables. They design their artwork on them, and then we have a procurement with Queensland Transport that we give that out to road tech places around Queensland, so that's pretty deadly. And then one other thing that we do, well actually two other things, is we wrote a curriculum called Understand Your Brain that we deliver in youth detention centres. So we're in Brisbane Youth Detention Centre and West Moreton, teaching kids about their brains and teaching all kids about their brains. And it's amazing. We don't do that in schools. We actually don't talk much about brains. And then last thing we do is do workplace brain health. So we're teaching the adults about brain development after 30. So just last week, I was up in the Northern Territory in Borroloola, teaching a program up there to elders and community members about brain development, so that they can teach their parents and elders about that. So that's sort of like in a bit of a nutshell.
Wow, that's incredibly unique. And so I guess for people who don't know the importance of brain health or what the power of healing is, could you explain a bit about that?
Yeah, brain health sort of like means keeping this organically, neurologically healthy. we don't want to end up with mild cognitive impairment or dementia at any time throughout our life. But we know we need to keep this healthy. So what does that mean? Healthy food. It means good connections to culture, whatever your culture is. For us, it's about being connected to our ancestors, being connected to our land, and being really, really mindful of, if we don't take care of our land, then our spirits are sick, and when our spirits are sick, we feel sick. So making sure that we have that very strong connection there. And then once you actually get that bit right and down-regulate that middle part of the brain and the brain center is going a bit crazy, then you improve processing speed, working memory, the cognition part. Because as I said before, when you're going through some of these yucky things in your life, that part of your brain sort of like shuts down, and it's really hard for kids to go back to school and learn when they might have missed out or 2 or 3 years of that not being strong. So that's really important. And we also talk about restoring that wellness. So that's about that having a really strong spirit, being connected to something bigger than yourself, and also making sure that you connect with the elders and listen to their stories. And we heal by relationships.
Yeah.
And it's very important that we have very strong relationships around us, especially for our children all children who live in a house with people that are not connected to their families in any way. And are completely disconnected from love.
In out-of-home care.
And then when you get locked up in prison, you've got people around you that are paid to take care of you. So there's no love there. And the essence of healing is actually feeling like you're loved by other people, and you being able to love it back, but knowing that person loves you but is not necessarily getting paid to do that.
Yeah. They're such incredibly powerful life skills for those who definitely need it most. So what has it meant to you being one of Future Gen's social impact partners, having multi-year untied funding?
It's absolutely amazing, because Future Generation is the only funder that, whether that's the grants we have, we get very limited government funding that allows us and meets us in the capability in what we need. So we've been able to share with Future Generation, this is what we need, these are the gaps to be able to support these families and these young children. This is what they're telling us we need. It's not about here's a grant and here's the KPIs to meet. You've allowed us to tell you what we need, and that's really very, very reassuring and actually very quite exciting. And I really hope everybody sort of like learns from that. The other thing I really love about Future Gen is that yes, there's reporting to do, but it's not onerous. It's actually the reporting about what we've told you we need. So, and it actually allows us to build a capability within the organisational capability that allows us to have long-term funding as well.
So is that the capacity building component of the grant? Because that's quite unique.
Oh, it is. Like, paying for, being able to put some money aside for a business development to work out a business model of, the picnic tables that I was talking about, to be able to get more procurement for that, like a little bit of a social enterprise, but not really a social enterprise, to be able to get the funding back in to keep that rolling at a cost that's neutral enough to sustain that. That requires some really good business modelling, financial modelling that most of us don't have the time to do. And being a founder and the CEO, our organisation's grown so much in the last year, and you're in that, I'm not too sure what the name of the stage is in the business development stages, where the CEO and the founder get so overwhelmed and actually gone from doing everything to going, okay, I need to back off now, let someone else to do that. Yeah. That's the norming and storming stage that we're in. Yeah. And Future Gen have been able to come in and build, allow us to say, this is what we need, and help us with that. And I'm really grateful for that. That means I can sleep more.
Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for all the work you do, and it is absolutely incredible, the communities you support and the participants whose lives you have an incredible impact. We are so grateful that you're one of our social impact partners. If you want to learn more about Future Generation Australia or Future Generation Global's social impact partners, head to our website. We have wonderful case studies and links to the organisation's website. Thank you very much.